This is Ren Space and this is the unsolved Hinterkaifeck farm murders. In the early 1920s, on a Friday night, in late March, a German family and their new maid were brutally killed in their rural and isolated home. Law enforcement officials interviewed several people, both locals and transients, in an effort to find the person or people responsible for the shocking murders of 6 people. However, nearly a century later, no one has ever been charged with the horrifying killings that occurred at the farm in Hinterkaifeck. On the night of March 31, 1922, a killer, or a group of killers, murdered Andreas and Kazilia Gruber, their daughter, Victoria, and Victoria's children, Joseph and Kazilia, and the family's housekeeper, Maria Baumgartner. The family lived on a farmstead called Hinterkaifeck, which is now Weyhofen, Bavaria, Germany. The family was known for keeping to themselves. Still, neighbors grew concerned on April 1, 1922, when young Kazilia missed school and the entire family failed to show up to the church where Victoria was a member of the choir. Kazilia missed school again on April 3rd, and by then, mail for the family had begun to pile up at the local post office. On April 4th, the family's neighbors decided to investigate. Lawrence Schlittenbauer, a farmer who lived nearby, led the search party. What they discovered haunted them for the rest of their lives. In the barn, the search party found 4 brutally battered bodies covered with hay. Inside the house, they discovered the bodies of 2-year-old Joseph and the maid, Maria Baumgartner. It had been Baumgartner's first day on the job. The previous maid had abandoned her position due to a belief that the house and farm were haunted. Consequently, investigators concluded the killer lured 4 of the victims to the barn, one at a time, and systematically attacked them with a mattock. After murdering the elderly couple, their daughter, and their granddaughter, the perpetrator stacked the family's bloody corpses on top of each other and covered them with hay. Investigators discovered young Kazilia had clumps of hair in her hands and bald patches all over her head, causing them to conclude she had ripped out her own hair. The authorities theorized that the little girl probably didn't die right away from her injuries. Kazilia may have torn out her own hair as she laid, terrified and dying, next to the corpses of her mother and grandparents in the barn for several hours. The killings went undetected for 4 days, until April 4, 1922. This was largely because in the days after the murders, the Grubers' neighbors saw smoke coming from the home's chimney, indicating someone was using the house's fireplace. Thus, it seemed as if the family were alive and well. In addition, the farm animals and the livestock were fed, and someone even went to the trouble of milking the cows, and also performed daily tasks like preparing meals and maintaining the farm, causing the police to conclude the killer had lived in the house after murdering 6 people. Law enforcement arrived from Munich to start interviewing people. During the course of the investigation, more than 100 suspects were questioned about their possible involvement in the brutal killings. But police at the time failed to come up with answers and eventually closed the case, though it would not remain closed. In the months and weeks leading up to the massacre, a number of strange events occurred at the Hinterkaifeck farm. Neighbors told police the family's patriarch had reported several strange incidents, including unexplained footprints in the snow leading toward the farm, with none leading away from the property, and in the attic. People speculate that the killer may have been hiding in the home for a long period of time before murdering the 6 residents. Andreas also told his neighbors that his keys had gone missing and he'd found a strange newspaper in house. He declined to borrow a gun from one of his neighbors to protect himself and his family. Allegedly, the skulls of the Grubers and their maid were given to clairvoyants, presumably in an effort to learn more about the perpetrator or perpetrators who had committed the brutal massacre. Inexplicably, the victims' skulls were kept in Munich. Thus, the Gruber family and their maid, Maria Baumgartner, were buried without their heads. According to the authorities, the skulls went missing following the upheaval caused by World War II and were never recovered. In 1923, just a year after the Gruber family and their maid were viciously murdered, Hinterkaifeck farm were razed and a memorial to the victims was put in its place. In addition to the simple concrete shrine, there is a memorial to the victims in the Weyhofen cemetery, where the Grubers and their housekeeper were laid to rest. In 2007, more than 80 years after the Gruber family and their maid were killed, students at the German police academy used modern techniques to investigate the unsolved case. The students ruled out all but one suspect they believe committed the murders at the Hinterkaifeck farm. However, the suspected killer is dead, so they didn't publicly name the person they think is responsible for the massacre, out of respect for the suspect's relatives, who are still alive. At this point, it seems unlikely the public will ever know who committed the murders, or why. Whatever secrets the Gruber family kept in life and death, they now slumber alongside them in the grave. Drop down your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe, we need your support. Don't forget to share if you like the video. Until next time, peace.